have my local stamp club meeting coming up in the next few days, and so I have to have my ATCs ready to hand out. I'm going to show you how I do these in this video. I already have part of the supplies that we're going to need. I have everything cut out that we will need. We're going to start off, I have 8 of these cut out, and these are my pieces of white cardstock that are 2 1/4 by 3 1/4, and we are going to use our embossing folder on this. And then I also have 8 each of this. This is the overall dimension of the ATC, the 2 1/2 by 3 1/2, and then I've cut about an 1/8 short of that, so it's about 2 3/8 by 3 3/8 for this white. That's kind of just going to be a border used by the embossed piece. So I'm going to set these aside. We'll need these later. Now I've set up my cutting and embossing machine. This is the one that I have from Stampin' Up. We're going to use this one today. And so I have these sheets here ready. Now the embossing folder that I'm going to use, which is called Lovely Lace, it's several years old from Stampin' Up. And what we're going to do when we're looking at this embossing folder, the imprint into the paper is made by this top piece. And I can feel the piece there versus this side is where we're going to have the indentation. So I want to put my ink on this portion of the embossing folder, and today I'm using Strawberry Slush, a Stampin' Up color. And so what I'm going to do is just take this cover here of this embossing folder, and I'm just, actually it works better when it's laid out flat, and I'm just putting the ink on this folder. And I want to make sure we have good coverage, because that's what's going to give good coverage on our embossed piece. Okay, so now I'm going to take, I can fit 2 little pieces per run through. Now I want to be real careful right here, because I want to make sure when I fold this over, it's going to have ink on it. Oops, I've got more than one piece there. And again, from the top and the bottom. So now when I fold this down, yes, our ink is covered. And now I'm going to go fold side in first, put my plate on top, and then we will just run this through the cut and emboss machine. And keep our fingers crossed that everything's going to look good. It's going to be attached just the way it is. Now this can get to be a little bit messy, but this is the first one as it comes out, and I love that color, this Strawberry Slush color. And let's see what this one's gonna look like. Love it. Is that not beautiful? I love that contrast between the deep Strawberry Slush red color and then that white. Now I still have several more that I need to make to get my 8. I'm going to clean this in between, and so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go run this under the water faucet and clear it off. This is a water-based ink, so it's going to come right off. So let me run and do that. This is how it comes out after I just run some water over it and dried it off, and it's ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and run those other 6 through the machine just the same way, and I'll come back. I have the ink embossed pieces ready, and I wanted to point out to you, after I just told you about putting the ink on that top cover and then placing it on top of the paper to get this kind of feel, I accidentally put the ink on the other side. I didn't realize it until it went through, and I knew it looked different, which this one actually took some of the ink on itself, but you can really tell it with this piece, the difference here. So the ink was on the bottom of the embossing folder, and so when I embossed it, because here's where the layer that comes out, this is indented more. So what I have decided, I'm just going to still use it. It doesn't have to be exactly the same for the ones that I'm doing, and we'll see. Somebody will probably pick it that they like that one better, and because we go around and you can choose the ones you want. Each of them are different anyways because they take on different areas of that embossing folder. So I'm ready to go to the next step. Now I have a stamp on my acrylic block and it just says celebrate. We're just going to put it out here on a little strip. I've got some scrap pieces of white cardstock that I'm going to do the stamping, and again I'm going to bring out my Strawberry Slush ink, and I'm just going to take one of these pieces of scraps. I was looking at the length. I want to get, mainly what's going to show up on the card is celebrate. And so it's okay if this piece extends beyond. And I'm just going to do some stamping, multiple stamping here. So let's stamp out several of these. I'm going to need my 8. And I also like to often do extras because it never fails, whether it be the stamping or my cutting out. I usually make a few mistakes. Let's grab another piece. We've got 5. Do one up here. And one more. I just want a strip of the word across my card, and I'm going to keep it like this for now, and we'll trim off as we begin to put them on the card to know exactly where to trim off on the end. You could use a trimmer for this, or just try to cut as straight as you can. I actually may trim this piece off and save that. And this way now we can use, I have a choice. There we go. Now for the most part, we've got the easy steps left of putting our cards together. Now most of the time when I put together my ATCs, I use my tape runner, but because of the embossing, I think I'm going to use this Tombow glue to attach everything. So it's going to take just a little bit longer maybe in terms of the glue drying, but the reason being, notice how this is that original card that I did. I did some inking though, but see how it has turned up? And so if the tape is not very, very strong, it's not gonna hold it in place as well. And I don't want it to come up. So I'm gonna use the glue. And so I'm just gonna place this in the center and just hold that down for a few seconds. And in fact, I may even use my blocks while I'm doing this to hold them down just for a few minutes. And so I'm going to go through here and just apply this glue. This may even be a good project to use a glue stick on, but trying to get down in all the little crevices of the embossing is going to be important. So I'll just go through here now and do this gluing. Now I want to attach the back piece. And I'm going to use my tape runner for that. So this is still drying. And we're just going to put this in here. There's a little bit of glue that has seeped out. Let's get my glue sheet out. And I'm going to start forming this bottom layer again as we work through and attach the bottom. Now I've given this some time to dry. I'm going to place the sentiments on here, and I want them to have this left side even with the top layer, and I think I'm going to cut, I think I'm just going to cut it even with the outside strawberry slush. So I'm going to trim it, and I may go ahead and do that as I lay this across here now. I'm just going to trim it even with that outer edge of strawberry slush. So that will help me in terms of, I'm going to use the foam dots here, and I can place those along the end there in the middle, and it won't go beyond the card. So we're going to just pop these up with this sentiment. Just along the bottom here. I wanted to point out another thing that I like using this type of embossing folder that's really not directional dependent. Notice on this one right here, and to me there's really no mistakes, because that's what makes this a handmade piece, is that there are little pieces like this that aren't completely covered. But I do have the flexibility that I can have it turned if I really want to show this. I think this is like a doily feature. I want that to be featured just like on this one. I really wanted this one to be featured, so I turned it that direction. Looking ahead to these that I have under here, this is one that really didn't get the coloring in it a lot. Well, I'm probably going to take my Celebrate and cover that up, because mainly having this up here as the focus. So don't look at any of these as mistakes. I mean, of course, yes, we can make some and it may be difficult to fix, but a lot of times if I can just stamp over, even flip over the page and start over, or just add something on top of it, I'm going to try my best to use what I already have done and go with that. So I just wanted to point that out for these particular ones that I'm seeing. So I'm almost finished putting the Celebrate sentiment on these. And the last step is going to be attaching some little pearls. So I'm using my pick tool, and we're just going to place these on different places on the card. Just these little pearls here. Give them a little subtle look. Okay, so I'm going to work on placing those, and I will be right back. And here they are all finished. I have little pearls added. Each one is unique in itself, from the placement of the pearls to how the different kind of inking on the embossing folder to the placement on the embossing folder. But I hope that everyone will get one that they enjoy. I think they all look great, and they can use these for many different events. I hope you've enjoyed, and I encourage you, get some of your embossing folders and try out this inking technique. I will see you again on the next video.